7:42 on your Friday morning wake-up call. Time now for Friday with the Fuzz with Derek Cooley and Chief Jeff Swoboda.
All right. Well, thank you, Roy. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're doing well. How about yourself?
All right. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you as well. I know Friday's a little bit busier. We got a busy weekend. A lot of things happening this week. Busy day yesterday for Kane County Police Department in general, the Sheriff's Department, as well as a lot of surrounding police departments. But we'll start with a big sentencing that went down yesterday. I know there was a event that took place almost 3 years ago to date here in Elgin. Unfortunately, a 5-year-old was shot due to gang violence. So if you want to kind of go into that, maybe step back 3 years, like what happened, and then the sentencing.
Yeah. Well, 3 years ago, almost to the date, that a 5-year-old Eric Galarza was killed by gunfire, in which Miguel Hernandez fired into a carload of people leaving their home. And again, the 5-year-old was killed, and obviously sparked a lot of outrage in the community. Some marches took place about anti-violence. I mean, it was gang violence. It's always leading to some type of trouble, whether it's people being victimized of batteries, people being killed, the sale of drugs, just all negative stuff that goes along with the gangs. This really brought it even more to the forefront of how just innocent people routinely get killed by cowards who shoot into cars and kids get hurt and things. So yesterday the judge sentenced Miguel Hernandez to 78 years in prison. And so I was talking with Detective Wallach, who took on who was the lead in the case, and really the judge hit on the fact of just how impressed and how it left helped the judge remember just how the community came forward, the amount of people, the witnesses that had come forward and wanted to help solve this case. So just a very sad incident, but again showed how people coming forward to put killers like this, put them in jail hopefully for the rest of their life. So that came down yesterday, and it was nice work by all the detectives who were involved, the initial responding officers. There was a lot of work involved with that. Cook County State's Attorney's Office was out immediately, and we worked this case all the way through. And so about 3 years to the date from the time that the murder happened, he was sentenced to 78 years in prison.
And going off of what the judge had said about the community response and people coming forward, neighbors, you don't really see that a whole lot, especially in gang violence, out of fear, basically. Is what I kind of conceive from it. Does that kind of, when the judge says that, does that solidify your stance again with the community and with all the events and all the outreach that the police department does with the city of Elgin and having people coming together to help convict a murder of an innocent 5-year-old boy? Does that just make it, it's not going to bring back any lives, it's not going to kind of do justice to the family, but does that kind of make you as a police department and as the chief of police here in Elgin, does that make you feel good that the community came together and was able to help convict this gentleman?
Yeah, we routinely have people coming forward. You're right, though, in gang violence, especially with the media and TV and being so close to Chicago, where there's there's obviously, just by nature of the size and everything, more violence, and sometimes the code of silence that people hear so much about. And that does exist to some extent, but for the most part, the community members in Elgin know that those types of comments about being scared and then potentially being target for coming forward, the people who just come and give us anonymous tips and stuff, the media or TV and movies make that sound like then they become targets, and they have to be very careful. We're able now to do things, get information so quietly, and we don't publicize it, and so people can do anonymous tipping all they want. So we get a lot of input from the community, and that's really why we spend so much time. And people probably get tired of hearing about how a lot of our time within the police department is really just about building trust and building bridges with the community, and continuing to solidify the bridges that we already have. Because whether it's a big incident like this, or there's a rash of car burglaries of unlocked cars that are out there, we need the community. There are only, and I say only because of how big Elgin is, 180 police officers, and there's 110,000 people in Elgin. And there is no way that, and this is for every police department around the country, there's no way for police to be everywhere all the time. And so, policing from the start was always a joint partnership between the people who get paid full-time to do it and those people in the community who were expected to carry some of the water on the issues as well. And so, decades ago, we ran into where that wasn't always the case, but I think now, 2014, here in Elgin and many other communities, people recognize that the police can't do it all, and they have to be a part of the solution. They have to help us identify the problems, and then I think we can make some great gains forward. So, yeah, the judge saying that, that Detective Wolick brought it to my attention that this was going on, or that was brought up during sentencing. It was nice to hear, but I'm not surprised at all, and so it's just another affirmation that the stuff we're doing and making sure people know how to get in touch with us and how to help us, and that will pay big dividends on major cases like this.
Yeah, I feel like whenever I'm filling in for Mike doing Friday at the Fuzz, I'm always talking about how something benefited from the community outreach. The community did something to help either a conviction or something here in the community. So I mean, 2014, you said a couple of decades ago it wasn't like that, but definitely from what I've seen, I haven't seen a couple decades ago, but it's really something different here in the city of Elgin. So I want to commend you for that, for making it easier for me to talk about things, because it's nice to talk about some of the things that the community comes out and does with the Elgin Police Department and what you offer to them. So on a lighter note, from the conviction yesterday and the sentencing, we've got a ceremony we have today, a promotion due to retirement. You want to talk about that a little bit and invite some people?
Yeah, today at 3 o'clock we're going to be holding a promotion ceremony in the lobby of the police department for Officer Bernhard Bajak, who will be promoted to Sergeant Bernhard Bajak as of 3 o'clock today. So it's open to the public. They're usually pretty short ceremonies, so you could just stop in around 3 o'clock, probably out of there by about 3:20 or so, 3:30, and it's always very nice to see. We have a great representation from the community, whether it's people who are just stopping by who aren't super involved with the police department or the community, but they just heard about it, and that's always nice. To our Citizens Police Academy, Alumni Association, we have the Museum Committee who's always there. People in our CERT, the Police Department's Community Emergency Response Team, they're always showing up. So it's a great time, friends and family of the police department. And so it's generally a tight fit. We do it in the police department, and it's right in front of all the old pictures and all the memorabilia. So it's a tight fit, but we're not there very long. And it's a big day for Bern. It's a big day for the police department. And then I'll mention it quickly because he didn't want a lot of fanfare leaving. But Dennis Hood retired from the police department, or is retiring from the police department. And Dennis, just being not one of the guys who really relishes the spotlight or wants to do a whole lot with it, I'll just mention that he's retired. But it is done over 25 years of fantastic service. I think it's actually 26 years of service to the police department. It's been involved in many things, and I know we get compliments all the time of our bike program. We've really professionalized our bike officers, and we used to have different types of bikes, different uniforms that officers would wear on the bikes, and we've really professionalized it, and that's completely credited to Dennis Hood. He's certified in training other officers, so Dennis being involved in the gang unit. He was a detective. He was involved with our evidence technician team, and has just done a ton for the Elgin Police Department. So we're going to miss Dennis Hood and wish him a long, healthy, happy retirement. And now it's Sergeant Bernhard Bajak's time to step forward. So 3 o'clock today at the lobby of the police department. Anybody listening want to stop by? Please do so. There'll be some cake and some coffee afterwards, and just a little. That's right. Cake always brings people out. So cake and coffee, and we'll get people there.
Well, we want to congratulate Bernie and Dennis as well, so we'll keep that short. And also, speaking to the community, inviting them out to events, you had a speaking engagement about bank robberies, and all these kind of things, these kind of speaking engagements are really important because you never really know when something's going to happen. Like we were talking, I know you and Mike were talking the past couple weeks about domestic violence. How this month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we just had yesterday the big domestic violence, just two officers stop over in Holiday Hills on a wellness check for domestic violence possibility, and then 2 officers get shot. They're both in stable condition right now. That's kind of just an example of how random these crimes can really be. And bank robberies, tomorrow can be a bank robbery. You never really know. So you did a speaking about bank robberies and how to kind of react as tellers in that. If you want to kind of go into what people should be looking for if they're a teller, if they work at a store during a bank robbery, or what to look for if a bank robbery is going to take place.
Yeah, we were out at one of the banks on Randall Road yesterday, and Terry Moore is our liaison with the alarms. We've done a lot of work, and this is kudos going back to previous generations. I actually think it was Chuck Ruger started a burglary alarm reduction program was part of this, And really, just police department, we were finding we were responding to 5,000 false alarms around the city. People were starting to get burglary alarms, and they were going to put them into their homes and their stores, and they were going off a lot, and the technology wasn't as good as it is now, and so there were a lot of false alarms. And so officers on each one of those burglar alarms were setting 2 officers with their lights on, going quickly over to see that it was see if a burglary was actually taking place, and they turned out to be false. So we started this long program going back, I don't know, probably close to 20 years, and started to try to reduce them. And with that, it was education, it was technology, and then probably part of it too was the hammer that after you get so many free a year, and then you start getting charged. Yeah. Controversial at the time, police department charging, and still probably is. I know some people don't like them, but it really has reduced the amount of burglary alarms we get. People then, managers then start realizing, it's really important now to train staff to make sure they understand how the burglar alarm works, because, we only get 4 a year, and then we're going to start getting charged. So that was one thing that we really try to be on the preventative side. And then this new program came up, and I think a lot of it, before Terry, was Jennifer Phillips, who's now over in 311, went out and said, we need to start doing more communication with the banks when, pretty much everything we're doing within the police department, we try to look at how are we responding, how do we solve that problem, how do we make it easier once one of those crimes occurs. And the great idea that came up was just doing more of outreach to the tellers. And so put together this entire program on, first of all, how a bank can prevent robberies from occurring, just simple things as tellers, making sure people see, no hats and sunglasses once you walk in, all the different things that banks can do on the front end. But then where we really come in is once a robbery has occurred. Remember, places get burglarized, people get robbed, and so this is a little bit different with a bank robbery now. Somebody comes in and there's a teller there, and they ask for the money. So the robbery is occurring. What can the teller do? What are the things that when the police show up that they are going to want to? What are the questions they're going to ask? What are the things that can make these go very badly? So how do you get the person how do you get the robber out of the bank as quickly as possible so that it doesn't turn into a hostage situation? So I was able to go to this program. I think it was on Tuesday, and there were probably about 15 different tellers there. We had our beat officer there. Officer Cox was out there, and it was one of the many presentations we give to, again, just how to prevent robberies. Once a robbery is occurring, what should a teller do to make sure nobody gets hurt, and then what to do right after a robbery so that we can quickly catch the person, because as we know, people don't wake up one day, rob one bank, and then get out of their life of crime. So they generally recur, and so it was a great program, and spent a lot of time on that, and Terry Moore did a fantastic job, so it was a great program.
Excellent. Let's say I'm a teller, and there's a robbery occurring right in front of me. What do I do in the moment? What's an example of something to do in the moment while it's occurring?
And a lot of that is we talk about, and only the teller knows what they can do. There are things of the alarm. When are they going to try and set the alarm? How are they going to set the person off? And what Terry spoke a lot about is doing what the person says. Nobody's life is worth insured money. So the key is getting them what they need so that they get out of there and get on their way. People who show up to rob banks generally want to do it very quickly and get out. They don't want to stay there longer than general anyways. So as we're looking at the person, we're eventually going to want a description of them if we catch them, or when we catch them. The person who was victimized and the teller who saw the person best will eventually be asked to identify the person. So looking to see what's going on, and not just he's trying to describe me. Okay, he's male white. He's 6'2". He's whatever the guess is on weight, but the clothing, all of those things. That's important. But then also are there little things that are little tells that they can look at. Is he wearing a necklace? The way he speaks, does he talk? Is there anything that's unique about the way the person is talking that can help us down the road? If there's a note, what is going on with the note? So there's a lot of things that the tellers have going through their minds, and we've had multiple bank robberies here in Elgin over the years, and the tellers will tell you, it's obviously extremely scary, and so trying to remember all that when it's happening is very difficult. So just like we do with CERT, just like we do with Neighborhood Watch, talking about these things when everyone is calm and can understand and put things in place, and kind of thinking these things through, like what if. Hopefully when they hopefully it doesn't happen, but if it happens to that teller, they'll be able to, some of these things kind of kick in. You resort back to your training and think, okay, here's what I need to do. The person ran out the front door. okay, we don't want people chasing down bank robbers, obviously, but if it's safe to do so, or any type of robbery that occurs, it could be a jewelry store or anything, okay, he ran out the door, but did you see which way he went? Did he go towards the field or did he go towards the parking lot? Did he or she, did you think he got in a car? And all of those things help. And we were on Randall Road and kind of told the story that the person runs out the front door of the bank and runs westbound. That's good to know, but it would be better to know that they ran westbound towards where. It's because westbound's very broad. You can run southwest, you can run northwest, you can run straight across the street. So many times you don't know the streets, you don't know the direction of travel, so you can just know the businesses that are wherever you work. What are the businesses around you? So you can at least say he ran towards that restaurant, he ran towards this place, he ran towards this bank. So if you can just tell the officers that are responding, that helps us. And people need to know that the dispatchers, as they're getting it, are trained to do a lot of things at once. So many times people, as they're talking and something significant is occurring, like a robbery that's occurred or somebody needs help, they'll hear the dispatchers continuously asking questions, and they're repeating some of these things out loud, which helps other people in the room who are dispatching the officers. But they're also typing it into the computer-aided dispatch, and the person you're talking to is generally not the person that's dispatching. So many times you get people frustrated. Would you just send the police here right now? And people need to understand the police are already being dispatched. It's another person that's doing it. The person you're talking to is getting all the information, put it in the system, because little things help. The simple thing like what I'm wearing today, I'm wearing a workout jacket. Well, what's the color of the underneath the workout jacket? Because many times, as soon as they get out the front door, the jacket's off. So it's nice to know, is a person wearing a white shirt underneath it or a dark shirt? Because obviously I could take that off, but the jacket's much easier to take off. Knowing that the person's wearing a baseball hat is helpful, but that's easily changed. So the little things, are they wearing, if there's unique earrings that a person's wearing, they're small crosses, or they're small with some type of design, or there's they have star earrings, whatever they're wearing, those types of things, tattoos on their hands, those are things that they can't change. So when you're talking with someone and you're handing things, the way they talk, all of that stuff comes into play. So she spent about 45 minutes going through it. There was a nice question and answer going on. And the banks have been very receptive to this. They want the training. The tellers want the training. We provide the training. It's completely free. And if somebody's hearing this and they don't run a bank, but they own a jewelry store, they own a grocery store, and they want to have a similar type of class, we do this. We do this for free. We do this it's part of our job to help keep the community safe. So give us a call, and we'll schedule something to come out and help people to train once something like this happens. It doesn't have to be a robbery necessarily. It's just what to do when you call the police. So our telecommunicators do a great job going to the schools, and they explain to the kids what happens when they call the police and what's occurring and why you don't want to fake call the police and dial 911 if you don't need help. That type of stuff. So a lot of stuff is just education, because we got the response down pretty good in the police department. I mean, there are a few things that we don't handle routinely and we don't handle very well. Now it's spending a lot of time to be more proactive.
Definitely. That's great information for people out there to hear. Real quick, since we're wrapping up this segment at the top of the hour, I wanted to mention that the census is in town. So if you wanted to let people know what to do when they approach or get approached by the people from the census. Yeah,
real quick, and we'll be putting a press release out today, but the U.S. Census Bureau is in town. There were some calls and concerns because we've been so proactive with telling people about scams and people knocking on your door that then the census, they're knocking on the door, and they finally called the city and the police department and said, hey, you got some tough residents. They're slamming the doors in our face. They won't talk to us. And so Sherry Ashenbrenner has been working on this as well, and our senior community is so well-versed in what to do when somebody comes. But the census is invited. It actually helps to know how many people are in town, and so they do come, and we're putting something out today. But they shouldn't be, and the legitimate census workers don't ask about bank account numbers, what is your the PIN on your bank account? Weird questions like that. It's how many people are in the household. I think there are some questions on what's the income of that household. It's just their questions that they have. These census workers, as long as they have their identification, which they should be wearing, are invited here. And I talked with the U.S. Census Bureau yesterday, the day before, and we were kind of working through this. I mean, just a reminder, it is built in as part of all of our rights as residents here that we will partake in a census and help out as we can. So they are invited. Please help them answer the questions that you can.
Excellent. Well, it is our just duty as citizens to abide by the Constitution there with the census. So, Jeff, great information as always. This one was full of information. Thanks for coming in again this morning. We'll see
thanks. And we'll just a real quick shout out to the Boys and Girls Clubs having their big dinner tonight. So happy about that. And then not too far away, we'll be talking about Christmas. And I was asked to be to help out with the Festival of Trees. So the Ecker Centers with their big event coming up. So a lot of things coming up, and just want to wish everybody a very safe weekend. And we'll see you guys next Friday.
Yeah, no, a week from tomorrow, it's the Nightmare on Chicago Street. So
that's right.
That'll be something to talk about.
That'll be a big one. Yeah, exactly.
And we'll be here for it. So thanks, Jeff, once again. This has been Friday at the Fuzz. You're listening to AM 1410 WRMN.
In Elgin.